Move to the country, they said. It'll be so peaceful. Your chickens will love it, they said. Well, they didn't tell me about this. Hello, friends. Welcome to Chickenlandia. My name is Dahlia. I'm a backyard chicken educator, also known as the president of Chickenlandia. Raising chickens has been the best way for me to find peace and joy in my life, and I want to help you find that too. This is Pickles. Pickles is a little bit broody right now. Are you broody, Piccolina? Huh? Don't you poop on me. Don't you do a broody poop on me. That's yucky. She is so pretty. Look at that. Look at how pretty you are. You were kind of like rejected from your original flock. They picked on you, huh? And then you came into Chickenlandia and you started picking on others. That's just the way it is, isn't it? All right, I'm gonna put you down. You go back to doing whatever you were doing. So if you have been following Chickenlandia for, I think this happened about a year ago, you will know that at some point I had an incident happen. And I will tell you very quickly about it now, just in case. It was early morning. I had not let my chickens out of the coop yet. I was in the kitchen, starting breakfast or whatever, and I heard a commotion in the chicken coop. Now, it is not uncommon for me to hear the chickens going buck, 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 buck in the morning, even before I've let them out, because a lot of times they will lay eggs before I let them out in the morning. So I didn't think that much of it, but it got really loud, and I was like, that's like really loud. I decided I'm gonna go let the chickens out. And so I came out here, everything looked normal. I opened the door, and to my surprise, there were two chickens that had passed away. They were just lying on the floor of my coop. They were still warm. They had literally just died, and there were two of them. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what in the world happened? The two little ones that I lost that day were both special needs chickens. One was named Baboon. She was a cute little black chicken that I had. And one was named Pidge. And Pidge was a rumpless chicken. I have no idea what her breed was. I'm pretty sure she was some kind of crossbreed. She was a rescue chicken. Both of them had special needs. The little black one had been sick ever since I got her. And Pidge was at the very bottom of the pecking order. I was pretty sad. You know, they were both funny, sweet little chickens, but I really didn't have a lot of time to deal with my own sadness because my flock was completely freaked out. So it became my priority to return them to normalcy as fast as I could. Just like people, chickens are very vulnerable when they are stressed out. So it was in my best interest to get them out of that state. They were obviously just shocked about what happened. I immediately put a product called Rescue Remedy that I use a lot. I talk about it a lot on this channel. I put that into their water, and it's just a couple drops of the product in their water. And I also got them, it was a new product that I started using at the time. It is the probiotics and prebiotics from Grubbly Farms, and that's supposed to be something that's really good for them during times of stress. So I decided, you know what, I just got this product, I'm gonna use it. Those are the two things that I put into their water, and then I also was like, okay, I'm gonna give them like a lot of treats today. And you know, I'm all about balance in Chickenlandia, so you've probably heard me talk before about the Chickenlandia chicken food pyramid. When it comes to what you're feeding your chickens, you need to be really balanced about it. Normally, I wouldn't be giving my chickens a whole bunch of treats in a single day, but it was very important to me to kind of distract them. I had another product that I actually have been using since then, the Grubbly Farms Omega Mix. It's got black soldier fly larva, pumpkin seeds, chia seeds, it's got broccoli in it, sunflower seeds, just really, really good for them. And if you're gonna give your chickens treats, you don't have to buy anything. You can, you know, give them kitchen scraps or whatever. You don't have to buy something. I do like spoiling my chickens, and full disclosure, I'm sponsored by this company, but I wouldn't have them as my sponsors if I didn't think they had really good products. So this is one thing that you can give them, or you can do some yummy kitchen scraps, like something they don't normally get, like maybe some scrambled eggs or something like that, some shrimp tails, something that's really yummy for them. And that will distract them. So that was my goal that day. I was giving them all the treats. This is good for people too, because when they lay the eggs, it makes the eggs healthier. So this is healthy for chickens and healthy for people. But I was giving them lots of treats and really, really distracting them. And distracting myself too, because I was like traumatized. So after I calmed down from all this and gave my chickens their treats and they seemed to be calming down, I started thinking, okay, what happened? And I remembered that just the day before, my neighbor had sent me a text, and the text had a photo of a little juvenile bear that was near here at a neighbor's house, and the little bear had gotten into the chicken feed. My neighbor told me, hey, you need to watch out because there's a little bear around here. It is super rare for there to be a bear in these here parts, okay? I think there's been 2 sightings in like, I don't know how many years, many, many years. And they were both really young bears, so likely just a juvenile bear that got lost and was like, where am I? I'm gonna eat some chicken food. That happened, and I realized, you know what? That's probably what it was. The bear came up to the coop, probably shook the coop, was looking in the windows, whatever, and that is enough, believe it or not, to scare a chicken to death if they are already vulnerable. That can happen. Chickens can get scared to death either immediately or they go into shock. And when a chicken goes into shock, that's a really dangerous situation because chickens can die that way if they don't come out of the shock soon enough to eat and drink and get their will to live back. To this day, I'm pretty certain that's what happened. And when it happened, I did a video about it, but I didn't really talk about here's what you really need to do to deter bears, because I've almost thought about it as like it's futile because bears can just about get through anything, and to the point to where if they look in the window they could kill 2 of your chickens. But then I thought about it and I was like, well, most people don't have really vulnerable chickens like this, and there are things that you can do to keep larger predators away from your flock and maintain that a little bit of control. So I want to talk about that right now. The number one thing that you absolutely should be doing, especially if you live in bear country, and you should really do this because it just attracts other predators around, and it can also bring rodents, which will attract predators that are coming after the rodents, and then the bears will come after the predators that are going after the rodents. Here's the most important thing that you can do above anything else. Store your chicken feed. Like if you have bags of chicken feed or a big barrel of chicken feed, store that as far away from your chicken coop as you possibly can in an area that is secure and that a bear is not likely to be able to get into. A stubborn bear, a hungry bear, a desperate bear, they can get into just about anything, but it's unlikely for them to take a real risk to be around humans if it's annoying for them and difficult for them to get to something. So you always want to think about things as like creating as many obstacles as possible so that the animal gives up and decides, this isn't as easy a meal as I thought it was. Because bears, just like other predators, they're opportunists when it comes to chicken feed and our flock. So if they see the opportunity, that's when they're going to come. You want to make it as difficult for them as possible. So, I have my feed stored in a shed on the other side of my chicken coop. If I lived like in bear country where we really had bears around here a lot, I would need to do something different probably. But do the best you can with what you have and the space that you have, and try to keep that chicken feed stored as far away from your chickens as possible. If you live in an area where you have large predators like bears, I would not recommend keeping your compost pile very close to your chickens. I know a lot of people will give their chickens access to their compost pile, and they'll actually have a compost pile in their chicken run, which is great. I think that's great. If that's something that you like to do and you're comfortable with, I think that's awesome. You can do that, but if you live in an area where there are bears, it becomes very risky. And even if you have your run very predator proof, so it keeps out coyotes and raccoons and possums and skunks and animals like that, it will likely not keep out a bear if the compost pile is very tempting for them. So that's why I would say if you live in bear country, I wouldn't do that because it's just too much of a temptation for them, and they could get very destructive. And obviously, they come for the compost and then they eat your chickens. So we don't want that. If you're feeding your chickens kitchen scraps, if you're throwing things out for them, that's another thing that you just don't want to leave lying around. Now, unfortunately, bears are diurnal, meaning that they like to be out during the day. And that makes things really tough. So you just have to keep the temptation down as much as possible. So if you're going to do scraps, I would do it in a really controlled way. Do it as far away from the chicken coop as you possibly can, and just be really mindful about it, because you don't want to leave that kind of stuff laying around, especially near your chickens or inside your chicken yard. It's just lying around, because that is very tempting for bears. And something I want to mention is in my book, in my first book, I've got another book coming out, but it's not out yet. Maybe by the time you watch this, it'll be out, but that's like a year from now. But anyway, in my book, I talk about creating a little area where your chickens can go and they can get their scraps there, and then you can close it. You can put like compost in it, or you can put scraps in it, and it can be a predator-proof little area where your chickens can have their scraps or their compost in their run. But if you live in bear country, I would not do that because it's just too risky. So I want to make sure there's no confusion about that. One thing that can really help with larger predators, even mountain lions, is to get a floodlight and put it on a motion sensor. Bears will come out during the day, but they'll come out at night too. Animals like coyotes, mountain lions, they are nocturnal, so they will come out at night. None of these animals want to be around humans. So if a bright light comes on, they're gonna run away. It's just gonna startle them and they will run away. So that's a good idea. I would place it in an area where you think an animal might encroach on your chicken yard, or you could use more than one. I know a lot of this stuff isn't cheap, but with a little bit of patience, you may be able to find some things used or some things discounted. You just need to give yourself some time to locate those items. When it comes to bears and mountain lions, it can get expensive when you're trying to deter these animals. Of course, you could get a big dog, a good working farm dog, a big old guy. That would really do a lot to deter bears and mountain lions too, but it puts the dog in danger. If the bear actually comes into the yard, they're not going to be able to fight the bear off. It could turn out bad for the dog. So, I mean, maybe they could, but more than likely it'll turn out bad for the dog. So we don't want that. All right. I mean, I've seen like a Chihuahua chase a dog, a bear away, and I've seen a cat chase a bear away, but I wouldn't count on it. Okay. Okay. So last, but definitely not least, electric fencing. Electric fencing is gonna really go a long way when it comes to deterring larger predators like bears and mountain lions. And in fact, ultimately, it might be the only thing that keeps them away, depending on where you live. You could actually have a setup where the bear doesn't get so close to your chickens that they scare them to death. That is something that's really hard to prevent. If there is a run-in with an animal like this, even if they don't get to your chickens, you could end up with problems. I mean, I think if you live in the higher elevations, electric fencing should probably just be part of your plan, because it's really going to help keep these animals away. They don't like it. Now, it's expensive. Again, it's expensive. I do know that sometimes people are selling these items, like they use them and then they're not using them anymore, electric fencing, things like that. I know that because at one point I was selling some. So this is another case where if you have the patience and you have some time, then you can take that time to look for special deals. I wish I could offer something that was cheaper, but for some of these animals, it's just really hard to keep them away. So obviously bears aren't the only animals you want to deter from getting into your flock. And if you predator proof for other animals, that will also create obstacles for bears. And remember, we're creating as many obstacles as we can. So I do recommend learning about the other ways of predator proofing your coop. Of course, I have a whole playlist about predator proofing. I don't talk a lot about bears in those videos, but I talk about other animals, and it's really important to learn that stuff even when it comes to bears. That video is on the screen right now. It's 100% friendly. Backyard Chickens, education and entertainment, and I know you're gonna love it.